Welcome to Monk's Temple. Settle in. Let the weight of the day begin to dissolve. Perhaps you're in bed, the day's thoughts still swirling, or in a quiet chair, seeking a moment of reprieve. Wherever you are, let your awareness soften. Listen to the rhythm of your own breath. And now, listen to the sound of this voice, not as a lecture, but as a companion in the dark, exploring a path that has been walked for thousands of years. Tonight, we journey into a quiet space within. A space where we untangle a fundamental human knot. Not the knot of hardship, but the knot of holding on. The knot that, when pulled tight, we call love, but which often is simply fear in its most elegant disguise. This is the path of understanding attachment, not through stern doctrine, but through gentle recognition, and discovering the unshakable self-respect that waits on the other side of letting go. Close your eyes for a moment, if you wish. Picture a deep, still forest pond. Its surface is a perfect mirror, reflecting the sky, the trees, the passing clouds with flawless clarity. Now, imagine throwing a stone into the center. Ripples erupt. The reflection shatters into 1,000 moving fragments. The water is still water, but it can no longer show you a clear picture of what is above. Your mind, in its natural state, is that still pond. It can reflect reality with clarity. Attachment is the stone you throw into it. The stone of craving, of fear, of "I need this to be different." The ripples are your suffering, the distorted perceptions, the anxious thoughts, the reactive emotions. Buddhism teaches us that our task is not to stop the sky from changing, nor to catch the clouds. Our task is to let the water become still again, so we can see clearly. So we can respond from clarity, not from the chaotic ripples of our grasping. This grasping, it has a gentle beginning. It often starts as a beautiful appreciation. A love for a person, a joy in a situation, a pride in an identity. But subtly, appreciation turns into appropriation. We move from, "I love this," to, "This must remain for me to be happy." We move from, "I enjoy your company," to, "Your company is my peace." We begin to build our home in someone else's story, forgetting we are the author of our own. I remember a time, years ago, when I found profound peace in visiting a particular ancient library. The smell of old paper, the hushed silence, the sunlight streaming through high windows, it felt like a sanctuary. My weeks began to revolve around these visits. Then, the library closed for renovations. 4 months. When I saw the notice, a wave of genuine panic washed over me. Where will I find my peace now? I thought. In that moment, I saw the mechanism with painful clarity. I had outsourced my sanctuary. I had attached my inner quiet to a specific room, a specific smell, a specific light. I had, without realizing it, made my peace conditional. Buddhism would call this upadana, clinging, grasping. The suffering wasn't in the library closing. That was a simple fact. The suffering was in my mind's protest, my inner child's cry that its favorite toy had been taken. We do this with everything we cherish. We stick our label of "source of my well-being" on it, and then live in terror of the label being torn off. If this feeling of your peace being held hostage by something outside you is familiar, you are walking a very human path. This path is what the Buddha sought to illuminate. If you'd like to explore this illumination together, consider subscribing to Monk's Temple. It's a space for these gentle unravelings. The Buddha's radical insight was that this clinging creates a world of negotiated self-worth. We become interior diplomats, constantly brokering treaties between our inherent value and the conditions of the external world. The treaty might read, I am worthy when I am productive. I am lovable when I am helpful. I am safe when I am in control. We sign these treaties in invisible ink, and we are the only ones bound by their terms. The world goes on, impermanent and indifferent to our contracts. When the condition fails, productivity wanes, help is rejected, control slips. We feel the breach of contract as a personal failure, a collapse of our worth. But the fault is not in the world's inconsistency. The fault is in the original, hidden agreement that made our self-respect conditional in the first place. Let me tell you about a potter I once knew, named Samuel. Samuel made exquisite, delicate cups. He fell into the habit of judging his entire day's worth by the first cup he threw in the morning. If it was symmetrical, flawless, he walked with a light step. He was a good potter, a worthy man. If the clay wobbled, if the rim was slightly uneven, a shadow fell over his whole day. He was off, struggling, less than. He had attached his entire sense of professional and personal dignity to the behavior of a lump of wet earth on a spinning wheel. One day, after a bad cup, he was so frustrated he hurled the flawed piece against the wall. As he stared at the shattered clay, he saw the absurdity. He had given a temporary, shapeless thing the power to shape his inner world. He had made his self-respect a slave to physics and chance. We do this constantly. We let a person's mood become the weather of our soul. We let a single criticism erase a lifetime of knowing our own goodness. We let the silence of a phone define our social worth. We are all, in ways, Samuel the potter, allowing the fragile, impermanent cups of external validation to hold the contents of our self-esteem. This is where attachment performs its most clever magic trick. It turns love into a form of hunger. We say, I'm starving for your affection. We speak of emotional nourishment. And while these are metaphors, they reveal a truth. Attachment convinces us we are empty, and that the other person is the only source of food. Pure love, what Buddhism might call metta or unconditional friendliness, is not a hunger. It is a fullness that overflows. It is the sun shining because it is its nature to shine, not because it needs the flowers to thank it. Attachment love is a hollow space begging to be filled. It says, I need you to make me whole. That statement, though it feels deeply romantic, is the foundation of immense suffering. It is a declaration of personal emptiness and a massive, unfair burden to place on another human being. I witnessed this transformation in a friend, a musician named Lila. When she played for herself, lost in the flow, her music was transcendent. Then she fell for someone. Slowly, she began to play for him. She would choose pieces she thought he'd like. She'd watch his face as she played, searching for the spark of approval. If he looked distracted, her rhythm would falter. If he praised her, she'd feel elated for hours. Her music was no longer an expression of her soul, it became a performance for a single-member audience, a test she had to pass to feel valid. The instrument became a tool to extract love, not to express it. Her love for music, and in some ways her love for him, became needy. The joy was replaced by anxiety. The offering became a plea. This is the alchemy of attachment. It turns gold into lead, it turns abundance into scarcity, it turns a song into a question, am I enough for you? Buddhism asks us to investigate this hunger. The question is not, do I love? The more revealing question is, what do I fear losing? If the thought of loss feels like annihilation, like the very ground beneath you vanishing, that is not love speaking. That is attachment, that is the terrified child who believes it cannot survive alone. Love can coexist with sadness at parting, but it does not crumble into identity crisis. Love's foundation is internal. Attachment's foundation is external, and when that external support is threatened, the entire structure shakes. This hunger, this negotiated self-worth, does something even more insidious than make us anxious. It quietly changes what we see. Attachment doesn't just alter our feelings, it alters our vision. Buddhism places great emphasis on samadhi, right view, because seeing things as they truly are is the first step on the path out of suffering. But attachment acts like a prism placed in front of our eyes. It takes the clear, white light of reality and fractures it into a spectrum of what we hope for, what we fear, and what we can barely tolerate. We stop seeing the person in front of us. We see our own projection, our own story about who they are and what they mean to us. We become masterful interpreters of ambiguity. A harsh word becomes stress. A pattern of neglect becomes a busy phase. A fundamental incompatibility becomes a challenge to grow. This is not empathy. This is translation. We are translating the foreign language of disappointing reality into the familiar dialect of our own hope. We do this to avoid a devastating sentence: this, as it is not good for me. To admit that would force a choice, and attachment fears choice more than it fears misery. It would rather live in confused interpretation than in clear, painful truth. I think of a man I once met, a carpenter named Elias. He purchased a beautiful, antique wooden beam to be the centerpiece of a mantelpiece. The beam had a crack, but it was so gorgeous he convinced himself the crack was superficial, part of its character. He built his entire fireplace around it. Months later, in the dry heat of winter, the crack deepened. It began to splinter. Instead of seeing the beam for what it was, flawed and unstable, he saw only his investment. He bought clamps, he injected resins, he decorated around the damage. He spent more energy fixing the beam than he had building the fireplace. He was so attached to his initial vision, to the beauty he saw despite the crack, that he refused to see the beam's true, failing nature. Eventually, it sagged dangerously, and he had to tear the whole structure out. His attachment to the idea of the beam cost him the entire fireplace. How often do we do this with relationships or situations? We see the crack, but our attachment to the potential, to the history, to the invested time, makes us pour all our energy into stabilizing something fundamentally unstable, instead of acknowledging the flaw and building accordingly, or choosing a different material altogether. This distorted vision extends to how we see ourselves. Under the prism of attachment, we begin to edit our own needs and instincts. That gut feeling that says, "This is wrong," gets a new voiceover. "You're being too sensitive." The instinct to pull back when disrespected is rebranded as, "You're not being forgiving enough." We override our own internal navigation system because it's giving us directions we don't want to follow, directions that lead away from the object of our attachment. Buddhism warns that this is how we lose trust in ourselves. We teach ourselves that our deepest intuitions are unreliable, that our discomfort is a problem to be solved, not a signal to be heeded. We become strangers in our own skin, following a map drawn by fear instead of the compass born in our soul. This self-betrayal finds its most concrete expression in the slow, quiet erosion of our boundaries. In the language of attachment, boundaries are often seen as threats. They are walls that might keep the desired object out. They are rules that might cause friction. So, we sand them down. We call this sanding by noble names: compromise, flexibility, being easygoing. Buddhism never championed the collapse of the self for the sake of harmony. It championed balance. A boundary is not a wall of hostility. It is the shoreline of the self. It is where you end and the ocean of another's being begins. A healthy shoreline has both places of gentle meeting and solid rock that withstands the waves. Attachment convinces us to let the waves erode the rock, to let the sea claim more and more land, telling us this is how we become one with the ocean. But you do not become the ocean, you simply drown. I recall a story from a teacher, about a serene garden with a delicate, intricate fence. The gardener loved the fence, it defined the space, protected the tender plants within. One season, a vigorous, beautiful vine from the neighbor's yard began to grow over the fence. At first, it was charming. The gardener allowed it. The vine grew thicker, covering the fence's beautiful details. Then it began to pull the fence down with its weight. The gardener, now attached to the vine's flowers, couldn't bear to cut it. He built shaky supports for the fence instead. Soon, the fence was completely obscured, sagging under the weight, and the garden was no longer a distinct, protected space. It was a territory claimed by the vine. The gardener had sacrificed the structure that defined his sanctuary for the beauty of an invading force. Our boundaries are that fence. The vine is the needs, moods, or demands of those we are attached to. We let them cover our defining lines, pull down our structures, and we call it love. But love does not require the destruction of the self. Love respects the fence. Every time you say, yes, when your body screams, no, every time you silence a need because voicing it might cause discomfort, every time you absorb disrespect to maintain calm, you are not building a bridge. You are blowing up a trestle of your own integrity. You are teaching the other person, and more crucially, yourself, that your shoreline is negotiable. And a negotiable shoreline is eventually washed away. Buddhism brings us back, always, to the central pillar of impermanence. Anicca. Everything that arises, passes away. Every feeling, every situation, every relationship, every self. Attachment is, at its heart, a rebellion against this fundamental law. It is a toddler's tantrum against the tide, demanding the sandcastle last forever. This rebellion is the engine of our suffering. We are not suffering because the sandcastle washes away. We suffer because we poured our heart into believing it was a fortress, and we rage against the ocean for being an ocean. The practice, then, is not to stop building sandcastles. The joy of creation is human. The practice is to build them with the knowledge that the tide will come. To build them for the joy of building, for the sun on the sand, for the shared laughter, not for the false promise of permanence. To love the castle fully, even as you see the water creeping closer, knowing that its dissolution is not a betrayal, but the fulfillment of its nature, and yours. This acceptance of impermanence is the key that begins to unlock the handcuffs of attachment. It is not a cold, depressing resignation. It is the ultimate liberation. It means you can enjoy the flower without needing to possess it in a permanent press. You can love the song without needing to chain the singer. You can appreciate the moment without clinging to it and demanding it become eternity. When you internalize anicca, your relationship with everything, people, possessions, status, even your own thoughts, changes. You hold them all like a traveler holds a walking stick. Useful, appreciated, but not a part of you, and laid down without anguish when the path no longer requires it. So we find ourselves here, on this eroded shoreline, seeing through a distorted prism, negotiating treaties with our own soul. The engine of all this is a specific, powerful energy, the energy of craving. Buddhism identifies tanha, thirst, craving, as the very root of suffering. This isn't a casual wanting. This is a deep, bodily, psychic conviction that says, I am not complete, not safe, not okay, unless X is present. And X can be a person, a substance, a status, a feeling. Attachment is the structure we build around this craving. It's the story we tell to justify it, the behaviors we enact to serve it. This energy of craving feels urgent, tight, and anxious. It has a grasping quality. Imagine your hand clenched tightly around a precious gem, held out over a rushing river. Your entire being is focused on that grip. Your muscles ache. Your mind is consumed by the fear of dropping it. You cannot use your hand for anything else. You cannot receive anything else. You are paralyzed in a pose of terrified possession. This is the emotional state of clinging. Your psychic hand is so tightly clenched around the object of your attachment that you have no energy, no openness, for anything else. The river of life flows by, but you are frozen, defined solely by your grip on this one, fragile thing. I want to tell you about a friend, a brilliant cartographer named Ben. He was hired to map a vast, unknown coastline. He became obsessed with a single, magnificent, but treacherous bay. The currents were strange, the rocks hidden. His map of this one bay became incredibly detailed, every eddy, every submerged hazard. But in focusing all his energy on this one captivating, dangerous place, he never mapped the calm harbors to the north, the gentle beaches to the south, the trading routes just offshore. His quest to perfectly understand and secure this one unstable territory cost him the discovery of the entire coastline. His professional journey became narrow, perilous, and ultimately, incomplete. This is what craving does to our inner landscape. It makes us cartographers of a single, unstable relationship or obsession. We know every mood swing, every hidden implication, every past hurt. But we lose the map to our own broader soul, our other passions, our quiet strengths, our connections to the wider world. Our inner world becomes this one treacherous bay, and we are constantly battling its unpredictable tides, calling it love, calling it destiny. When craving is in charge, love transforms into emotional bargaining. We keep a hidden ledger. We note every kindness we give, every slight we endure. We tell ourselves, if I just give a little more patience, then I will earn their consistency. If I absorb this disrespect quietly, then I will secure their presence. This is not love's arithmetic. This is the marketplace of fear. We are trying to purchase security with the currency of our own dignity. The tragedy is, the other person is rarely a party to this transaction. They are just living their life. We are in a frantic auction with ourselves, bidding higher and higher with pieces of our own self-respect, for a prize that was never on the block. Buddhism invites us into a different space, the space of non-attachment, or Vairagya. This word is often misunderstood. It does not mean indifference. It does not mean you don't care. Imagine that same hand, now open, palm up. The same precious gem rests in it, catching the light. The river still flows below. You admire the gem. You appreciate its beauty, its facets. But your hand is open. There is no clenching. If the gem were to be taken by the river, there would be loss, there might be sadness, but there would not be the shattering terror of the clenched fist being forced open. The open hand can still hold. But it can also receive. It can touch. It can let go. It is free. Non-attachment is the open hand. It is the capacity to love deeply, to engage fully, without the underlying panic that says, this must stay, or I am lost. This state feels profoundly different from the anxious grip of attachment. It feels spacious. Calm. There is room to breathe. You are no longer monitoring, interpreting, and managing every fluctuation. You allow the other person to be a weather system of their own, while you remain the steady climate of your own being. You are not buffeted by every one of their storms, nor desperately dependent on their sunshine. Let me share a story about a master weaver named Cora. She worked on a huge, complex tapestry. Early on, she became fixated on a single, central thread of shimmering gold. If that thread snagged or tension changed, she would panic. She'd stop her work, obsessively adjust it, fearing the entire tapestry was ruined. Her joy in weaving vanished, it became a stressful guardianship of one thread. One day, exhausted, she stepped back. She saw the tapestry from a distance. She saw the rich blues, the deep reds, the subtle greens. She saw how the gold thread was beautiful, but it was part of the whole, not the sole source of its value. She returned to her loom with a different understanding. She cared for the gold thread, but her attention was on the emerging pattern, the harmony of colors. If the gold thread had an imperfection, she wove around it. The thread was in service to the tapestry, not the other way around. Non-attachment is that stepped-back perspective. It allows you to see the relationship, your life, as a whole tapestry. The person you love is a crucial, beautiful thread, but your well-being, your tapestry, is woven from many threads, your values, your peace, your other loves, your purpose. You no longer sacrifice the entire weaving for the perceived perfection of one strand. From this spaciousness comes a quiet but unshakable power, inner authority. Attachment quietly outsources your authority. You look to another person to regulate your emotions. I'll be happy when they text back. You give them the keys to your self-worth. I feel good about myself when they approve of me. Buddhism teaches that this is a fundamental error. Your worth, your peace, is your own sovereign territory. It is not a colony of another person's attention. Reclaiming this authority is the essence of the path. This doesn't mean you become a lonely island. It means you become a sovereign state, capable of forming treaties of connection from a place of strength and choice, not need and desperation. You are no longer a refugee seeking asylum in someone else's affection. You are a complete nation, opening your ports for trade, for cultural exchange, for alliance. The dynamic is utterly different. I remember watching two seasoned dancers at a social hall. They came together, connected, and moved with a fluid, joyful grace. There was no clinging, no desperation in their hold. Each was firmly rooted in their own balance and rhythm. Their connection was a conversation between two autonomous beings, creating something beautiful together. Then I saw a different pair. One dancer was unsure, leaning heavily on the other, his steps tentative, his eyes glued to his partner's face for constant guidance. The connection was stiff, a burden. The first pair exemplified connection from inner authority. The second, connection from inner vacancy. Our relationships often mirror this. Are we dancing from our own center, or are we using the other person to hold us upright? When you operate from inner authority, your communication changes. You no longer speak from the shaky ground of, "Do you still love me?" You speak from the firm ground of, "This is what is acceptable to me." You don't beg for crumbs of attention. You state your need for nourishment and observe if the other person is capable of providing it. There is no threat in this. It is simple, clear reporting from the field of your own soul. This clarity is what Buddhism cultivates. It is not aggression. It is the ultimate respect, for yourself, and for the other person's right to choose how they respond to the reality of you. This authority leads to the most compassionate form of detachment, the ability to allow consequences to exist. Attachment is terrified of consequences. If someone disrespects you, attachment urges you to swallow it, to explain it away, to avoid any reaction that might cause distance. It fears the natural consequence of disrespect, which is a withdrawal of trust and closeness. But by blocking that consequence, you teach the other person, and yourself, that disrespect has no cost. You become complicit in your own mistreatment. Inner authority has the courage to say, "Your behavior has a natural effect on my heart. I will not shield you from that effect." This might mean calmly creating distance. It might mean saying, "When you speak to me that way, I cannot continue this conversation." It is not a punishment. It is a natural law, like withdrawing your hand from a flame. You are not blaming the fire for being hot, you are simply acknowledging its nature and protecting your skin. This is where self-respect moves from a concept to a lived reality. It is the daily, quiet practice of honoring the feedback from your own spirit. We arrive now at the heart of the matter, the pivot point around which all this understanding turns, the act of letting go. In the lexicon of attachment, letting go is synonymous with defeat, with loss, with emptiness. It is the ultimate failure of the clenched fist. But Buddhism offers a radical reframe. Letting go is not about losing what you have. It is about releasing what has been holding you. It is not an emptying, but a homecoming. Imagine you have been carrying a heavy, ornate chest for miles, convinced it contains your treasure. Your arms ache, your back is bent, your journey is slow and painful. Letting go is the moment you finally set the chest down, open it, and find it is full of stones. The relief is instantaneous. The weight is gone. You didn't lose a treasure. You were freed from a burden you mistook for one. Your energy returns. You can stand upright. You can finally see the path ahead. You have returned to your own natural posture. This is why letting go, though often preceded by grief, is almost always followed by a surge of quiet relief. The relief is not from the absence of the person or the situation. It is from the cessation of an internal war. You are no longer fighting reality. You are no longer spending vast amounts of psychic energy maintaining an illusion, managing cognitive dissonance, or suppressing your own truth. That reclaimed energy is your life force returning to you. It is the most tangible sign that you are returning to yourself. I knew a woman named Mara, a talented chef who opened a restaurant based on a very specific, rigid vision. She clung to every detail, the exact menu, the precise ambience, the type of clientele she wanted. When customers requested substitutions or the neighborhood vibe didn't match her vision, she fought it. She was constantly at war with the reality of her own business. She was miserable, exhausted, on the brink of failure. Finally, broke and defeated, she let go. Not of the restaurant, but of her death grip on the specific vision. She listened to her customers. She adapted the menu. She embraced the neighborhood. Almost overnight, the war ended. The energy she had been using to fight reality flowed into creativity, connection, and service. The restaurant flourished. She hadn't lost her dream, she had released a stranglehold on a single, frozen picture of it, allowing the real, living dream to emerge. We do this in relationships. We cling to a frozen snapshot of how it was, or how we insist it must be, and wage war against the living, changing reality of what it is. Letting go of the snapshot is not losing the relationship. It is the only way to save it, or to see clearly that it cannot be saved. Buddhism teaches that much of our suffering stems from vipallasa, the perversions of mind. One of these is seeing permanence in the impermanent. We attach the feeling of forever to things that are, by nature, temporary. Letting go is the correction of this perception. It is the acknowledgement, this was a season. The season has changed. It does not negate the beauty of the spring because autumn has come. It allows the cycle to complete. This acceptance dissolves the second perversion, seeing satisfaction in the unsatisfying. We insist that a situation that consistently brings us anxiety, depletion, or disrespect should somehow satisfy us if we just try harder. Letting go is the courageous admission, this does not bring me peace. It is the end of the argument with your own experience. This leads to a profound shift, from seeking external closure to creating internal resolution. Attachment has us believe that we cannot be at peace until the other person explains, apologizes, acknowledges, or changes. We wait for a conversation that will make sense of it all, for a final act that will grant us permission to move on. This is another form of leasing our peace. We make our inner resolution conditional on another person's behavior. True letting go happens when you reclaim that power. You give yourself the explanation, this was not for me. You offer yourself the acknowledgement, my pain is valid. You enact the change, I choose a different path now. There is a story of an old monk who was repeatedly pestered by a young man asking for the secret to happiness. The monk simply poured tea into the man's cup and kept pouring as it overflowed. "Stop," the young man cried. "The cup is full." The monk set down the pot. "Your mind is like this cup," he said. "Full of your own opinions, your demands for how life should be. To learn anything new, to find peace, you must first empty your cup." Letting go is that emptying. It is not an annihilation of your experience, but a pouring out of the stale, over-brewed tea of your expectations, your demands, your story of how it should have been. Only when the cup is empty can it be filled with the fresh tea of the present moment, of clear perception, of new possibility. This creates a newfound and powerful quality, discernment. When you are no longer clouded by the desperate need to make something work, your vision clears. You begin to recognize misalignment earlier. You feel the first small tug on your boundary not as a challenge to be overcome, but as information to be noted. You no longer romanticize struggle. You no longer confuse the intense drama of a turbulent connection with the deep peace of a true one. Your inner compass, no longer jammed by the magnet of attachment, begins to point true north again. You trust its readings. This discernment is applied with particular power to the most tender area, the stories we tell ourselves about our own worth in the aftermath of loss. Attachment personalizes everything. If someone leaves, it means I am unlovable. If someone is unkind, it means I deserve poor treatment. Letting go involves the gentle but firm correction of this story. Buddhism teaches the concept of anatta, or non-self. Not that you don't exist, but that you are not a fixed, solid thing defined by external events. Another person's behavior is a phenomenon arising from a vast web of their own causes, conditions, history, and karma. To claim it as a definitive verdict on your soul is a gross error, a case of mistaken identity. Letting go is the act of taking your identity back from the hands of someone who was never qualified to hold it. I remember a conversation with a geologist. He showed me a beautiful, smooth stone, striped with layers of color. "See these lines?" he said. "Each is a record of a different era. Pressure, heat, minerals present, all left their mark. You can't say one layer is the true stone. The stone is the whole history." Then he pointed to a deep, jagged scar on its side. "This," he said, "is a recent chip. It happened during transport. It's dramatic, it's what your eye goes to, but it tells you nothing about the stone's formation. It's just an accident of its journey." When we are attached, we define ourselves by the recent, jagged scar of a painful relationship. We think the scar is our entire story. Letting go is the process of remembering the rest of the stone, all the layers of resilience, joy, talent, and peace that formed you long before this encounter. It is reintegrating the scar into the larger, older, more beautiful narrative of your whole being. Finally, letting go restores a sense of simplicity and clean space. The mental chatter of analysis, the emotional roller coaster of hope and fear, the constant background calculation, it begins to quiet. Your energy, once scattered in 1,000 directions trying to hold a crumbling world together, coalesces. It feels like coming indoors after a long day in a storm. The noise stops. The buffeting ceases. You are still wet, still cold perhaps, but you are in a place of shelter. You can finally hear your own thoughts. You can feel your own heartbeat. This is the space where healing begins. This is the space where, perhaps for the first time in a long time, you can ask yourself not, "How do I get them back?" but, "What do I need now?" The answer, when it comes, will not be a frantic plan. It will be a quiet knowing. Having set down the burden, having returned to the quiet space of our own company, we now face the foundational work, rebuilding. We must look at what was traded, what was negotiated away in the marketplace of attachment. At the core of it all is the architecture of our self-respect. Under the regime of clinging, self-respect is not a birthright, it is a currency. It is something to be earned, bargained with, and spent. Buddhism points us toward a seismic shift, the realization that your worth is not an outcome. It is not a prize you win for good behavior, for being lovable, useful, or attractive. It is the ground of your being. It is the page, not the writing upon it. To live otherwise is to build your house upon a constantly shifting ledger of credits and debits. Conditional self-respect speaks in the language of transactions. I will respect myself if I am successful. I will be kind to myself when I lose weight. I will uphold my boundaries provided it doesn't make me seem difficult. Most painfully, I will demand respect from you only when I am no longer afraid you will leave. This turns your inner world into a courtroom where you are both the defendant and the harsh judge, and the verdict is always pending, always contingent on external evidence. You are forever on probation. Let me tell you about a watchmaker named Henry. He was renowned for his skill, but he measured his entire worth by the accuracy of the watches he repaired. A satisfied customer meant he was a master. A watch that came back with a minor issue sent him into a spiral of self-loathing. He was a fraud. His self-respect was a delicate mechanism he himself had built, and its gears were entirely turned by the hands of other people's timepieces. One day, a valuable antique watch was brought to him. It was a near impossible repair. He worked on it for weeks with a sense of dread. When he finally completed it, he didn't feel pride, he felt relief that he had, once again, avoided being exposed as unworthy. He realized his craft, his lifelong passion, had become a high-stakes test he was constantly failing. His love for the intricate, silent world of gears had been poisoned by making it the sole source of his self-esteem. He had to learn, painstakingly, to separate his inherent worth as a person from the variable outcomes of his work. He had to find a way to look at a watch without seeing his own soul in its balance wheel. This is what we do. We tie our self-respect to a job title, a relationship status, a number on a scale, the mood of a partner. We make it conditional, and then wonder why we feel so unstable. Buddhism challenges us to perform a simple, profound thought experiment. What if you respected yourself first? Not as a reward, but as a starting point. What if your kindness to yourself was the premise, not the conclusion? From that solid ground, your actions change. You don't chase success to become worthy. You move from worthiness toward endeavors that align with you. You don't tolerate disrespect to keep love, you love yourself too much to tolerate it. This is where the practice of mindfulness becomes a direct tool for rebuilding. Mindfulness is non-judgmental awareness of the present moment. In the context of self-respect, it means catching yourself in the act of negotiating. You notice the thought, if I just ignore that comment, I can keep the peace. Mindfulness allows you to pause and ask, at what cost? You feel the visceral clench in your stomach when a boundary is tested. Instead of overriding it with a thought like, don't be selfish, you simply acknowledge the sensation, this feels like a violation. You are collecting data from your own being, without immediately editing it to serve the agenda of attachment. I recall a student who was a passionate advocate for others but a ruthless critic of herself. She came to a retreat, and during a walking meditation, she was instructed to walk with this simple intention, may I walk with dignity. Not grace, not purpose, just dignity. She found it incredibly difficult. Her mind immediately argued, what have you done to earn dignity today? You were impatient earlier. You don't deserve to walk with dignity. The instruction exposed the conditionality she lived under. Her task became to walk anyway, to grant herself this basic, unearned respect with each step, not because she was perfect, but because she was a living being. It was a physical rehearsal for an internal shift. By the end of the week, her posture had changed. She carried herself not with arrogance, but with a simple, quiet solidity. She had begun to build the muscle of unconditional self-regard. From this foundation, boundaries cease to be negotiable demands and become natural expressions of self-care. A boundary rooted in conditional self-respect sounds like a threat. If you do that again, I'll leave, maybe. It's shaky, because it depends on your fear of loss outweighing your need for respect in that moment. A boundary rooted in unconditional self-respect is a simple statement of fact. I do not participate in conversations where I am yelled at. I am going to take a walk now. It is not about controlling the other person. It is about governing your own participation. It is the difference between building a fence to keep predators out, a fearful, reactionary act, and building a fence to clearly define your garden so you know what you are responsible for tending, a calm, declarative act. Buddhism, through the concept of ahimsa, non-harming, teaches that the first being you must not harm is yourself. Allowing someone to consistently trample your peace is a form of violence against your own spirit. Enforcing a boundary is an act of ahimsa toward yourself. It is not unkind. It is the ultimate kindness, creating the conditions where true kindness to others can flow from a full cup, not an empty one. This rebuilding also requires a new relationship with solitude. Attachment paints solitude as a terrifying emptiness, a confirmation of unworthiness. If I were enough, I wouldn't be alone. But from the ground of self-respect, solitude is reframed. It is the workshop. It is the clean, well-lit room where you get reacquainted with your own tools, your own projects, your own voice without the static of another's channel playing in the background. It is not emptiness, it is potential space. There is a parable of a musician whose instrument was always tuned to the key of the last orchestra he played with. He could play beautifully in any ensemble, but he never knew the natural, resting pitch of his own instrument. It was only during a long period of playing alone that he discovered its true, resonant note. From then on, he could join other musicians without losing his essential sound. He could harmonize without being absorbed. Your time in solitude is how you find your fundamental pitch. Your inherent worth is that note. Relationships then become a conscious choice to harmonize, not a desperate need to borrow a tune. Ultimately, unconditional self-respect manifests as a profound inner okayness that is not swayed by external weather. Disappointment can come, but it doesn't become a verdict on your soul. Praise can come, but it doesn't become the foundation of it. You are like a deep lake, its temperature stable far below the surface, regardless of whether the sun is shining or a storm is raging above. The surface may ripple, but the depths are calm. This is the stability the Buddha called upekkha. Equanimity. It is not numbness. It is balance. It is the direct result of having untethered your sense of okayness from the uncontrollable and ever-changing external world, and anchored it within the vast, still depth of your own aware presence. This work is daily. It is not a single declaration but a series of tiny choices. Choosing to speak your truth when it's easier to stay silent, choosing to take a break when you're depleted instead of pushing through, choosing to forgive yourself for a mistake without letting it define you. Each choice is a brick laid in the foundation of a home you can finally, truly live in. Here we arrive at the beautiful and quiet paradox. We have journeyed through the tightness of clinging, the distortion of vision, the erosion of shores, and into the work of building an inner home on solid ground. It might seem, from the outside, as though this path leads inward, away from the world. But Buddhism reveals the opposite. This unshakable inner ground, this unconditional self-respect, is not the end of connection. It is its only true beginning. It is what makes love possible without fear, and intimacy possible without fusion. When you are no longer a refugee seeking asylum in another, you become a sovereign state capable of forming a true alliance. This is the shift from needing to choosing. Attachment masquerades as intense connection, but it is actually a form of entanglement, a knot where two strands are so tightly wound that you cannot tell where one begins and the other ends, and the pressure of the knot damages both fibers. True connection from a place of non-attachment is more like two strong, distinct trees growing side by side. Their roots may intertwine in the rich soil, sharing nourishment and stability. Their branches may touch and provide mutual shelter. But each trunk grows straight and tall toward its own light. The strength of one does not compromise the other, in fact, it provides a windbreak, a companion in the landscape. They are together, but they are not the same tree. They are not dependent. They are interdependent from a place of wholeness. From this place, love changes its quality. It loses its desperate urgency and gains a profound, steady depth. There is no longer a rush to secure promises, to lock down the future, to constantly check the temperature of the relationship. You can be present. You can enjoy the conversation for the conversation itself, not as a data-gathering mission. You can appreciate a gesture without immediately calculating what it means for your long-term security. The relationship exists in the present tense, not as a desperate insurance policy against a future of loneliness. I want to tell you about two astronomers I read about, each studying the same binary star system. The first was anxious, obsessed. He needed the stars to behave in a certain way to confirm his theory. Every wobble in their orbit sent him into panic or elation. His observations were tainted by his need for a specific outcome. The second astronomer approached the same stars with pure curiosity. She was fascinated by their dance, whatever form it took. She observed their fluctuations with wonder, not fear. She was able to see patterns the first astronomer missed because his vision was clouded by his desired conclusion. Her love for the stars was clean, clear, and ultimately far more revealing. When we love from non-attachment, we become the second astronomer. We are able to see the actual person in front of us, in their glorious, complex, and sometimes difficult reality, rather than the projection of our needs. This is the greatest gift we can give another, the gift of being truly seen. This changes communication at its root. When your worth is not on the line, honesty ceases to be a dangerous gamble. You can say, "This hurt my feelings," not as an accusation designed to trigger guilt and secure care, but as a simple, clean report from your inner world. You can express a need without the subtext of, "If you don't meet this, you don't love me." The need stands on its own, and the other person is free to respond from their own capacity, not from a sense of obligation or fear. This creates a space of remarkable safety and authenticity. Arguments become conversations about navigating differences, not battles for survival where someone must lose so the other can feel secure. Buddhism speaks of the Brahma Viharas, the divine abodes. These are mental states to be cultivated: loving kindness, metta, compassion, karuna, sympathetic joy, mudita, and equanimity, upekkha. Notice that they are all internal qualities. They are not demands placed on the world, but gardens tended within the heart. Non-attachment, rooted in self-respect, is the fertile soil for these gardens. You cannot genuinely wish others well, metta, if you resent them for not filling your emptiness. You cannot feel true compassion, karuna, for their suffering if you are constantly calculating how their suffering affects you. You cannot feel sympathetic joy, mudita, in their success if you see it as a threat to your own status. And you cannot maintain balance, upekkha, if your inner peace is chained to their behavior. The path inward is, paradoxically, the only way to love outwardly in a pure, sustainable, and fearless way. There is a story of a master glassblower creating a pair of vases. He could have fused them together while the glass was hot, creating a single, tangled sculpture. Instead, he created two separate, complete, and beautiful vases. He then placed them side by side on a shelf. When the sun shone through the window, the light would pass through one vase, cast a colored shadow upon the second, and then pass through the second to create a new, blended pattern on the wall. They were separate, but the light between them created something neither could make alone. This is mature connection. Two complete beings, allowing the energy of life, love, experience, truth to pass between them, creating something beautiful in the space of their connection, without either losing their form. This also transforms how we experience endings. When a connection ends from this place, whether through circumstance, divergence, or a clear recognition of misalignment, the grief is clean. It is sorrow for the loss of a shared path, for the absence of a beloved presence. It is not compounded by the terror of identity collapse, the humiliation of feeling discarded, or the bitter rage of a contract broken. You grieve the vase, but you do not grieve your ability to hold space. You miss the dance, but you do not forget how to stand on your own feet. The ending, however painful, does not unravel you, because you were never woven from that thread alone. Finally, this grounded love empowers you to let people be. This is perhaps the ultimate expression of respect. Attachment needs people to be a certain way. Non-attachment allows you to see them as they are, and to consciously choose how you will relate to that reality. You are no longer in the business of fixing, saving, or changing someone to suit your needs for security. You can offer support, but you release the demand for a specific outcome. You can state your boundaries, but you do not control their reaction. This is incredibly freeing for both parties. It is the end of the emotional manipulation that often hides under the guise of care. It is love that liberates, rather than love that imprisons. From the quiet temple of a self-respected heart, connection becomes a choice, not a compulsion. Love becomes an offering, not a negotiation. And you discover that the deepest intimacy flourishes not in the swamp of need, but in the clear air between two mountains that stand firm, each in their own majesty, sharing the same sky. We now carry this understanding from the quiet space of contemplation into the vibrant, messy, and unpredictable flow of daily life. How does one walk through the world with this quiet dignity? How do we preserve the inner temple when the marketplace is loud and demanding? Buddhism does not ask us to retreat from life, but to engage with it skillfully. This is where mindfulness ceases to be just a meditation practice and becomes a living art, the art of conscious response. Mindfulness, or sati, is the clear, non-judgmental awareness of what is happening in the present moment. In the context of our journey, it is the sentry at the gate of your peace. Its job is not to fight off invaders, but to simply see what is approaching and ring a clear bell of recognition. When a triggering event occurs, a sharp word, a neglectful action, a surge of anxiety about a relationship, mindfulness creates a crucial pause. In that pause, between the stimulus and your reaction, lies your freedom. Attachment lives in the instant, unconscious reaction. Self-respect is born in the mindful response. Think of your mind as a still, clear pool. An event is a stone thrown into it. Attachment is when you immediately jump in after the stone, thrashing about, trying to retrieve it or stop the ripples, identifying completely with the chaotic water. Mindfulness is the practice of staying on the bank, watching the stone fall, observing the ripples arise, peak, and gradually dissipate. You see the disturbance, but you are not the disturbance. From that place of observation, you can then choose, do I need to address this? If so, how? Or can I simply let the water return to stillness on its own? This is not passivity. It is profound empowerment. It means your actions are no longer knee-jerk expressions of fear, but considered expressions of your values. You move from being a puppet whose strings are pulled by external events, to being the puppeteer with a calm hand. Let me give you a practical, daily example. Imagine your phone buzzes. You see it's a message from someone you're attached to. A wave of anticipation, or anxiety, hits. The old, automatic reaction is to snatch the phone, decode the message for hidden meaning, and craft a reply designed to manage their perception or secure their attention. The mindful response is to feel the buzz, notice the surge in your body, the quickened heartbeat, the tension, and simply breathe before you even look at the screen. You acknowledge, there is a craving to know, to connect, to control. You then look at the message not as a lifeline or a threat, but as mere data. You respond from a place of what you truly want to say, not from a place of fear about what will happen if you don't say the right thing. This tiny pause is a revolution in self-respect. Buddhism provides a practical framework for this in the Satipatthana Sutta, the discourse on the foundations of mindfulness. It guides us to be mindful of the body, feelings, mind, and phenomena. Applied to relationships, this means mindful of the body. Noticing the clench in your jaw when you're disrespected, the sinking feeling in your gut when you're ignored, the lightness when you feel seen. Your body is the first and most honest reporter. Mindful of feelings, recognizing, there is a feeling of hurt here, or there is a feeling of craving for reassurance. You label the feeling without becoming it. Mindful of the mind, observing the stories your mind instantly creates. He's late because he doesn't value me. She's quiet because I did something wrong. You see the story as a story, not as truth. Mindful of phenomena, seeing the entire interaction as a play of causes and conditions. Their mood, your history, the day's events, all coming together in this moment. This observational stance dismantles the drama. It depersonalizes what is not personal. It allows you to see that another person's bad mood is about them, not a verdict on you. It allows you to see your own anxiety as a passing weather pattern in your mind, not the permanent climate of your soul. I recall a story about a village gatekeeper. His job was not to fight every traveler or bar the gate in fear. His job was to recognize who and what was seeking entry. He would greet friends with warmth, admit needed supplies, question suspicious characters, and politely turn away that which would bring harm to the village. Your mindfulness is that gatekeeper. Every thought, every emotion, every external event presents itself at the gate. Your trained awareness learns to recognize them. Ah, this is the visiting merchant of joy, welcome. This is the old beggar of self-pity, you cannot stay. This is the disguised thief of resentment, I see you for what you are, you may not enter. You manage the traffic of your inner world with calm discernment. This daily practice extends to how you manage your energy, your most precious resource. Attachment is an energy leak. It drains you into the past, rumination, and the future, worry. Mindfulness plugs the leak by returning you, again and again, to the present. When you find yourself mentally replaying an argument for the 10th time, mindfulness gently notes, replaying, and suggests, what is here now? The feel of your feet on the floor. The sound of the wind. The next right action in front of you. This is how you stop bleeding energy into phantoms and reinvest it in your actual life. Furthermore, this conscious engagement allows you to practice right speech and right action with ease. When you are not clouded by the desperation of attachment, you can more clearly see what speech is truthful, helpful, and timely. You can see what action leads away from harm and toward well-being, for yourself and others. Your integrity becomes automatic, not a struggle, because it flows from a clear mind, not a conflicted heart trying to please or manipulate. Ultimately, walking through the world with this mindful self-respect means you stop wearing your vulnerabilities as targets and start carrying your boundaries as a natural aura. You don't have to constantly declare your standards. You simply live them. People sense it. Those who are respectful will be drawn to the calm strength. Those who seek to use or manipulate will find no soft entry point and will often drift away of their own accord. Your life organically arranges itself around your peace, not the other way around. The practice is continuous, moment by moment. It is returning the wandering puppy of your attention to the present, 1,000 times a day, with kindness. It is not about achieving a state of perfect calm, but about knowing you are the sky, not the storm clouds that pass through. And with each mindful return, the sky grows clearer, more vast, and more indestructibly serene. And so we arrive here, not at an end, but at a new beginning. We have walked from the constricted path of clinging, through the clearings of awareness, across the solid ground of self-respect, and into the spacious landscape of conscious living. We have seen that the teachings of Buddhism on non-attachment are not a manual for withdrawal, but a map for homecoming. The destination was never a remote mountain peak. It was always the quiet, sovereign center of your own being. Let us weave these threads together into a final tapestry of understanding. The core revelation is this: suffering is not in the pain of life, but in the resistance to life's fundamental nature. Life is impermanent, anicca. It is inherently unsatisfactory when we demand permanence from it, dukkha. And there is no fixed, separate self to be permanently satisfied, anatta. Attachment is the grand, futile rebellion against these three truths. It is the attempt to make the river stand still, to extract permanent nectar from a fleeting flower, to build a fortress around a mirage of a self. The suffering is the strain of that impossible effort. Self-respect, in its deepest Buddhist sense, is the courage to lay down that effort. It is the dignity of saying, I will no longer argue with reality. This is not defeat. It is the ultimate alignment. When you stop arguing, your energy, the vast energy once consumed by clinging, monitoring, fearing, and hoping, is returned to you. That energy is your life force. It is your creativity, your joy, your capacity for genuine love. You are not depleted by a world that takes, you are fueled by a world that simply is, and by a self that is finally at peace with that. From this alignment, your entire relationship with love and connection is transformed. You no longer love to acquire or to secure. You love to connect and to appreciate. Love becomes a verb of sharing, not a noun of possession. You understand that the deepest form of love is sometimes the strength to say a clean no to behaviors that harm, to dynamics that diminish, to connections that cost you your essence. This no is not a wall against love, it is the banks of the river that allow love to flow with direction and power, rather than spilling out into a stagnant, swampy mess of lost selfhood. I will leave you with one last, original parable. There was once a skilled navigator who possessed a legendary compass. This compass did not point north. It pointed true to the navigator's deepest, most authentic course. For years, she sailed with confidence. Then, on a long voyage, she became enchanted by a magnificent, uncharted island. Its beauty was intoxicating. She longed to stay. But her compass insisted her course lay beyond it. Fear gripped her. What if there was nothing beyond? What if this island was her only chance for paradise? She began to sail in tight circles around the island, close enough to see its shores, but never landing, never leaving. She called this staying close to what she loved. But her sails grew slack. Her crew grew restless. The journey stagnated. She was trapped in an orbit of longing. One morning, in a moment of sheer frustration and clarity, she looked from the island to her compass, and from her compass to the open horizon. She made a choice. She was not choosing against the island's beauty. She was choosing for her own true course. She turned the ship, aligned it with the compass, and sailed away. There was grief. There were tears for the fading shoreline. But as the island sank below the horizon, a wind filled her sails that had been still for years. The wind was her own liberated energy. The open sea was her possibility. The compass in her hand was her own self-respect, pointing her back to her path. She never knew if a better island lay ahead. But she knew, with every fiber of her being, that it was better to be sailing her true course than to be forever circling a beautiful prison. Your attachment is that orbit. The island is the person, the situation, the identity you cling to. Your self-respect is that inner compass. The open sea is your one, wild, and precious life. Buddhism does not promise you will never feel pain, never experience loss, never grieve. It promises you that you need not be imprisoned by them. It offers you the tools to build a home within yourself that no storm can destroy, because its foundation is the acceptance of storms. It teaches that peace is not the absence of waves, but the skill to sail upon them, grounded in the deep, still waters of your own aware presence. So as we conclude, let this not be an end, but a beginning of gentle observation. Start small. Notice one moment of clinging today, to a thought, to a worry, to a desire for a specific outcome. Just notice it. Don't judge it. See it as a weather pattern in your mind. And then, if only for a breath, loosen your grip. Feel the space that opens in that release. That space is your freedom. That space is your dignity. That space is you, returning to yourself. You are not a beggar at the door of love, waiting for someone to let you in. You are the architect of your own sanctuary, deciding whom to welcome, and knowing you are already home. Welcome home.